Hi, it's State Representative Jim Walsh here at the Capitol in Olympia. Lately, I have just been overwhelmed with phone calls and emails and text messages complaining about gas and diesel prices in the state of Washington, asking questions about why it's so, venting a lot of frustration about rising gas and diesel prices here in the state. Right now, around the state, gasoline prices for standard gasoline for a vehicle are right around $5 a gallon. In some places, they're a little more, up around $5.25. In a few places, they're a little less, just under $5, but they're all in that range and frankly, inching up still. And this is an increase of about $1 a gallon from where prices were at a similar point approximately a year ago. So people are feeling the pinch, they're feeling the pain of these higher gas and diesel prices. There's a lot of question about why. Why are the gas prices in Washington so high? Why have they become highest in the nation? And most of the reason for this has to do with the enactment of a piece of legislation here, a tax legislation, that has the name the Climate Commitment Act. The name is marketing, basically. What the Climate Commitment Act is a cap and trade tax scheme. And you've probably heard about these cap and trade schemes. They've been discussed, implemented in a few states, in a few countries around the world. They are basically a form of taxation, particularly on carbon burning fuels, energy sources. And that translates primarily into gasoline and diesel fuel for vehicles. But the cap and trade scheme and the tax applies to more than just gas and diesel. It applies to propane, it applies to any form of energy fuel that can be used in vehicles or homes, even industrial, business, manufacturing environments. But the real place most feel it is gas and diesel. So cap and trade applies a tax at the wholesale level of the production and distribution of these energy fuels. And that tax, which takes the form of a fee that is supposed to basically penalize companies, industrial activities, businesses that generate carbon pollution, carbon outputs. It makes them pay a fee for doing that. Some cynics call it a permit to pollute scheme. But basically, these producers of carbon outputs have to pay a fee to do that. That fee is a tax that is passed along from the industrial, business, corporate entities that create the carbon outputs. They pass the fee they have to pay along down the line of distribution of these fuels. And it ultimately ends up increasing the price at the wholesale level of a gallon of gasoline. And then that price, of course, translates into a higher price at the retail level at the pump when you're buying it. But now it's important to point out that this cap and trade tax is not the same thing as the sales tax that you pay at the pump when you buy gas or diesel. As I've said before, it's a wholesale tax. And that's an important distinction for this reason. In Washington, the retail sales taxes that we pay on gas and diesel and other types of fuel are controlled by the 18th Amendment to the Washington State Constitution. And the 18th Amendment says that those tax revenues have to be spent on transportation-related activities or projects. What this means is the retail tax you pay on gas and diesel is translated into maintenance of roads and bridges and other transportation-related activities. Now, this cap and trade wholesale tax is not bound by the 18th Amendment to the Washington State Constitution. The revenues generated from the wholesale cap and trade fees can be spent on any activity of the state government. And that is a matter of some controversy too. Now, the cap and trade wholesale tax is the main driver that has seen our costs of gas and diesel in the state rise so quickly. And that new tax revenue coming into the state of Washington is not dedicated to being spent on transportation-related projects. It could go into any activity of government. And that's giving a lot of people heartburn that this higher gas and diesel price is not being spent on roads and bridges, on transportation maintenance. It could be spent on anything, any activity of state government. So there have been a couple of discussions about what to do about these high gas and diesel prices. We could repeal this cap and trade tax scheme entirely, and that would immediately reduce the cost of gas and diesel at the pump. We could also apply the 18th Amendment to the revenue generated by the cap and trade tax, and that would dedicate those resources to road and bridge maintenance and other transportation infrastructure. That wouldn't lower the price of gas or diesel, but it would soften some of the consternation people are feeling about these higher gas and diesel prices. We'll see how this new policy, this new tax policy performs in the months ahead. The main pricing mechanism for this cap and trade system is a quarterly series of auctions for the permits, basically market pricing the fee that the producers have to pay for the right to pollute. And the first two of those quarterly auction processes generated much higher numbers for the price and therefore the cost of these permits to pollute. That's part of the reason that prices have jumped so aggressively. Some of us, myself included, predicted that the auctions, the price mechanism on this cap and trade system would be high. The governor and some of his bureaucratic agencies predicted it would only be a few pennies a gallon, and that proved to be wrong. The main bureaucratic agency that implements the cap and trade scheme is the state's Department of Ecology, and they've been a little embarrassed at some of their early predictions that this system would not cost very much. It costs a lot. Now, in the quarterly auctions that will come in the next few months, we may see some rationalizing. The additional monies may flatten out a little bit, but none of these activities are going to lower the price of cap and trade. So again, the options that are best to us in policy are either to repeal it entirely, and given the current makeup here and the governor's priorities, that would be a tough solution, or maybe something that would rein in the money and dedicate it to transportation projects and infrastructure. That might be a middle ground position on refining, reforming the way we do cap and trade in this state. I hope this has helped you understand why gas prices and diesel prices are rising so quickly in Washington, why Washington is now the most expensive state in the nation for buying gas or diesel, and maybe an idea too about how we could go about reforming this rising price situation. So I hope this helps. I hope despite the high gas and diesel prices, you enjoy your summer, and I'll talk to you again soon.